It's time for Around the Gridiron with your co-hosts, Marissa Voss and Brock Aker.
What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Around the Gridiron. We have our second guest on this ever podcast. I'm so excited. I can't even talk because I'm so excited to have Stunt. It is Stunt Monkey, a local celebrity. He is also, would you call yourself like a DJ at High 96.7? Is that what you do, or like a radio host?
Yeah, sure. And celebrity is very loosely used, obviously, in this term.
Oh, you have bobbleheads that are sold of you. So that is a big thing.
They gave them away.
Moondogs game. But still, you have bobbleheads. I need to get my hands on one of those.
You don't have one?
No.
I know a guy. It's okay.
Oh, yes. My dream is fulfilled.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So,
and I for being in South Dakota, I actually saw you on Fox Sports Northwood selling beer on the Moondogs. Did you miss that on this summer, or did you still get to do that?
We missed out on that this summer because of COVID. I did not get, so one of the things I do that's outside of the radio station is sell beer for the Moondogs, and I love doing it. It's something I've been doing for 13 years. But yeah, I wasn't able to do it this year because of COVID. They're only going to have so many people in the ballpark, and yeah, of course, all the other restrictions and having to wear gloves and mask, and it just was going to be a lot. And they're like, let's just not worry about it this year. And I'm like, I get it. It's okay.
It's fine. I'm hurt.
I was hurt. I missed it. I love going to baseball summer long / working. I mean, I just sit there and I yell at people and tell them to buy beer. So
what's the rhetoric or the art of selling beer then? What makes you popular? How do you get it done?
I don't know if there's an art at all. I think my skill is just being obnoxious until they give in. So I'm pretty loud. I've been told that from where the ballpark is, you can hear me about 5 to 6 blocks away near the hospital. So.
Oh my gosh. Well, whenever we're at hockey, I know Robin, when she was there, would always be like, Stunt, any content. You're like, wow, you would slam on the boards and it was so great. I miss seeing you and doing those things in hockey, and of course unsure of how COVID's gonna be this year. And that's how I officially met you. But I've also known you. I remember my mom's always we would listen to you and hear what was the other guy when he was there? I can't remember. There was another guy there when he was there a couple of years ago, and we would always listen to you and call in. And then the first time my mom met, and by this time I'm like, this is Stunt Monkey, this is Jeff. What's up? And she's like, do you know that Stunt Monkey? And I was like, yes. She's like, oh my God, you know him? I was like, yeah. She was so starstruck. I was like, it's just Jeff.
Yeah, that's the way I feel about it too. But thanks, Mom.
Right. Well, okay. So for you guys don't know, his name is Stunt Monkey, but his name is Jeff Lang. And I want to ask one of these things to start off the pod is, how did you get that nickname Stunt Monkey?
So I've been in Mankato for coming up on 17 years. And when I first started on the show, I did a bunch of different stuff, and then I went on to the morning show, and they said, we need to make you do stupid stunts, and they were going to give you a name. You're going to do stupid stunts. I'm like, okay. So I started doing stupid stunts on the show on the radio on Hot 96.7 at the time. And they're like, oh, we got to give you a name. Well, one of the listeners or someone called in and said, you guys should call him Stunt Monkey. And for whatever reason, it worked. It stuck. And that's what they called me the rest of the way.
Stunt Monkey. Sorry, guys, we got interrupted. My dad was calling me. Not now, Dad. Dad, stop.
Well,
but
I obviously don't know you as well as Marissa, so I knew you as Stunt Monkey, and I'm on Zoom and I get a guy in. I'm like, who's this Jeff Lang guy? What's that movie with Eddie Murphy when he's inside the guy and his name's Mike Chain? It's the most simplest name you have, so I can see why they moved you to Stunt Monkey. It just has a ring to it.
It was definitely a radio name, and it's caught on appreciatively about it. I guess at first I was like, oh, this is so stupid. And now, okay, it's kind of cool. Everybody gets to call me that. That's kind of fun, right? And cute, and little kids love it. They think it's cute, and I don't know, it's fun. So
no, it's
the brand.
Really fun.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Wish I had a cool nickname. Everyone just calls me by my last name, and I'm like,
that's pretty cool.
I know, but at the same time, it's not Stunt Monkey. That's so cool. Everyone knows you.
Not everybody knows me, but
Do you go places like when I drive around KUIC or like certain places like with the van or the car, everyone's like, oh my God, are you with KUIC? Do they like get the same feeling of like enamored by you?
I don't know if enamored is the right word, but I will, run into people who know the show or see me sell beer. In the summer months, especially, it's kind of hilarious how it switches from the radio station to, hey, that's the beer man. So that's kind of fun. But I mean, every now and then, it's the funniest thing to me in weird. It's more not funny. It's more weird. Is if I go to the store and I'm talking and somebody will go, "You sound familiar," and I'm like, "Nope, I don't. Don't worry about it." And they're like, "Yeah, you definitely do." And then they're like, "It's Stunt Monkey." I'm like, "Yep, nice to meet you. I'm sorry." I always apologize. I don't know why.
Sorry. Yep. Gotta go. Bye.
Sorry. This is what I look like. My bad.
I feel like that too. Like I remember when my mom said the same thing. Like you build this like picture in your head of what people sound like on the radio, and then
Right.
you see them in person, and you're like, you're not anything what I thought you were. Like who are you? It
For a
was
long time, I always got told that people thought I was nerdy and really tall and skinny, and I'm like, all we talk about is how short and fat I am. That makes no sense at all. Like, how do you get that?
I'm so confused. Do you even listen? Like, do you
Yeah.
you were
Do you
talking
even listen to me? What the hell? No. So it's interesting. Every now and then you get somebody who recognizes it, and it's fun, but it's also weird. I don't know.
Well, so we know now your job is like DJing in the morning show and doing that and being like the stunt guy. But what is is that your dream job? Is that what you've always kind of wanted to do?
I remember at a very young age, I was playing radio in the basement of my parents' house. Like I had like a little radio thing that you hit record on, so I could record with a little microphone, and then I'd play records and off a cassette tape of what I'd like some songs, and I just would go. I don't remember exactly what happened to that stuff. It kind of be fun to find actually, but I remember playing that a lot though as a kid. Um, I'd say when I was about 14, 15 is when I kind of thought maybe be a radio DJ. I got my first job when I was 16, actually. We had a job shadow. Remember job shadowing in high school? I had a
Yeah.
job shadow. And at the end of the job shadow, I picked a radio station. At the end of the job shadow, the guy goes, "Do you want a job?" I'm like, "Yeah." So I got to work weekends from 5 p.m. until 1 a.m. It was my first shift at the radio station near my hometown. I'm from Springfield. The hometown, the station next was in a different town called Redwood Falls. And so I went up there every weekend to work and would board op games and different radio shows and just kind of hang out. And then got to do on air for a little bit. Usually I was on air the most from midnight to 1 a.m. So, I was pretty rocking in front of a big crowd.
Midnight to 1 a.m. The ones who are always like either driving like for like a destination or like just up like partying and going
Yeah.
places,
Yeah,
drinking.
for sure.
Oh my gosh. Well, did you go to like, I guess I've never like really asked you these questions. It's just always been like hockey, stunt, what's up?
What's up?
Did you go to college like anywhere or was this just like radio has been the thing you've done always?
Yeah, radio's been the thing I've done always. So I started when I was 16 and I was getting close to graduation. I'm like, I want to go to school. I want to get something for this. And I didn't really know where I wanted to go. Wasn't really versed and I didn't have any older siblings or anything that knew the steps of school, I guess, if that makes any sense. And so I'm like, well, let's see. There's one option which is now closed up called Brown College, but it's expensive. I didn't really want to deal with that. I was in the cities. So I was trying to look for other opportunities. And there was a college down in Austin that had a radio program. I was like, oh, I'll get information from there and see what that's like. Got information. And then I called them and said, hey, I'm interested in getting a tour of the school. I like to whatever, this, and this. And they said, oh, for what program? I go, oh, radio broadcast. And they go, we no longer have that program. I'm like, you just sent me all this stuff. And so I just remember hanging up the phone. I was in my parents' basement, hanging up the phone and going, well, now what? And knowing what I know now, I should have probably called back and asked for somebody else because I'm guessing I talked to somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about. Because how would you send me all the stuff in the first place? But
Yeah.
I was 17 and I had no idea what the heck I was doing. So I said, nope, I'm just going to work. And so I moved to Mankato and worked a few different jobs along with got my foot in the door at the radio station and just kind of kept after it. So now I get to play radio all day long. And so it's awesome.
Well, and like for me for school, everyone always thinks it's like A, B, and C, right? You know, go to high school, graduate, go to college, then get a job. And that's not always the case for a lot of people. Like if you had your foot in the door at the radio station and you knew you wanted to do that, that's already a great prereq for where you want to go. So why would
Right.
you, like, you know, do school to just do what you were already doing? Like,
Right.
you know,
It
there's
depends on what the job is,
yeah,
obviously. I mean, the hardest thing about all of it really is the money part, and also knowing what you need to do and where you want. And you have to work. At the end of the day, you have to work. Put the work in. So if you go to school, don't go to school, get drunk every single weekend. Um, sometimes, but not every
sometimes,
single weekend.
maybe.
Yeah, but you know, it's like you got to put the work in somewhere along the line.
Absolutely. I mean, and that was like the biggest thing for like me is like for Brock and I, like we can't just go to like I could never go to just KYC and figure out how to like do it. I would have to have like be well versed in that background of broadcasting or like podcasting or something. Like
Mhm.
you know you have the talent, but you have to be like taught it from someone or figure it out and not just being thrown in the fire. And I think
Right.
some people like they can do that and thrive really well. Me, not so much. I can't do that. I can't just it's not good. Like I have to be like step by step.
It depends what the job is again, too, though. I mean, especially for
Yeah.
TV at KYC, there's a lot of little things you got to got to watch and how to edit video. Like for me, I get to I edit audio, but it's a lot simpler than editing video, and it's pretty straightforward. So
No, editing audio is like a lot easier. So much easier. You guys, you don't understand unless you would like do it. And if someone like they probably would see both and be like, what in the is these numbers and like what are these things? Like, you know, like what's
mhm.
acceptable? Like I'm confused. Like, but one well, and we're gonna switch on to another one. I remember when I was doing a story actually at Duck Lake Park, and you were like, Marissa. And I was like, who's saying my and you're like over here, and I start running, and I have like no idea it's stunt. I'm like, I thought it was stunt, and then I saw you. I was like, oh my god, hey! But you were kayaking, right?
Right. I was out kayaking that morning.
So
Yes.
are you like a big outdoorsy kind of guy, or
Yeah, I like to think I am. I feel like it's one of those things. So I guess to go forward, I got to back up. I've kind of buried myself into work for a long time.
Mhm.
Um, a lot. And so like I work 12, 13-hour days a lot. And so this last summer, I with COVID was a big part of it, but my job has also changed a little bit. So I got to take a little bit more time for myself. And so I'm trying to get out and be more outdoorsy. I used to go camping as a kid all the time. And honestly, kind of wish I wanted to get back into that. If I might have to end up doing that next summer, maybe just go back out to camping in the woods. I love doing that as a kid. But kayaking with the COVID this year, I'm like, I love canoeing, but I don't have money for but the canoe is a 2-person job, so I'm gonna get a kayak. So I bought a kayak. I love sports, so I mean, you get to go to a ball game, like we talked about the Moondogs earlier. I'll be outside for that all day long. Bike riding, bicycle or motorcycle, I guess. But I'm almost. I don't know what happened at the end of the year here, but I was on track to go to over 1,000 some miles this year in the bicycle, and then I think I ended up at 975 or something like that. I don't know.
oh, you were so
So
close.
I know. And I should be doing it this week, but now it gets so dark by the time I'm out of work, you can't really go anymore.
That's the biggest thing is like it gets like so dark. Like I'm like leaving to go to work at 5 and I'm like, okay, I gotta go run and like try to get my dog and get a run together. And it's like
Hmm.
already like basically dark outside. And like for being a girl or anyone, that's a little bit scary to like do
You
stuff
don't
in
want to be
the dark
running in
and
the dark.
like,
Yeah.
right? Like
Right.
so it just kind of stinks because you're like, oh, Minnesota sucks. Like it just gets so dark so soon. It's just
Hmm.
it makes me so depressed.
No, I don't know what my deal is, but every day I feel the same way. Like it sucks you. It sucks the life out of you a little bit. So,
It really
but
does. It's stupid.
it is. It really is. I just thought of something else I didn't share there. This summer, I actually started fishing again. I used to fish when I was a kid as well, all the time.
Oh,
Until I was 16, and I just stopped. I don't know why. And this summer, at the age of 36, I went out fishing with my buddy on the 4th of July. He's like, we should do something today. I'm like, what are we going to do? And I went and bought my fishing license, went fishing for the first time since I was 16. And it was like, oh, this is actually relaxing. I miss this. So
oh God.
there's,
Yeah.
I like being outside. I don't like to, no matter what it is. You asked about being a big outdoors person or not. I don't like to sit around. That's the majority of that's the real answer. If I can
Yeah.
be outside doing something, perfect. If it's inside doing something, going to a game or a concert, perfect.
Always doing something. Brock, are you kind of the same way? Are you a big outdoors guy?
I like to be outdoors. I kind of was Stunt Monkey with fishing. I haven't fished for like 5 years, but this past Labor Day weekend, I actually went up. My uncle has a lake cabin now up in Millbank, South Dakota, and I actually caught like 18 fish on the one day I fished it.
Dang.
Is that how it is? I don't know how to say fish plural. Is it still fish, right?
I think so.
I don't know.
Fishes?
I think it's
Well, I got 18 of them, whatever it is. It's pretty fun. I don't know if I could do that like some people and do it all day. I just did it for like 3 hours. I don't have the attention span, maybe like some people.
No,
I don't
3 hours
know.
is about right.
3
If-
hours.
Three hours.
is a
That's
lot.
almost probably too long.
That's literally so long. I could never.
I really started enjoying it this summer just because I got to sit there and not do anything for a while. But at the same time, it still gets long to sit there, and it's something to do, but I can't sit there and not do it all afternoon. 3 hours would be my max.
Literally.
Yeah.
Oh, I also bought a shotgun this summer. I love clay shooting. I fell into that about 5 years ago, and I always do it at these events. There's a Boy Scout event that's a clay shoot, and there's a few other ones. And so finally this year, I'm like, once again, it must be a COVID thing. I'm like, I'm gonna go clay shooting more. So I bought myself a shotgun and went clay shooting like 5 times.
Like the one where you're like, pull.
Pretty much, yes.
Oh my gosh, what?
Sporting clays. Yeah, I loved it. It was great.
So cool.
Yeah.
Don't be near a gun though. That would be bad. But like that's
Don't like
cool.
you near a gun.
It would not be good. I don't think I've ever like I touched a gun once because my brother was
I touched a gun once. I touched the butt.
I touched the butt. I literally like touched the guy. I was like, this is freaky. Like, I don't like this. And he's like, well, everything's off of it. Like, there's nothing on it. So you can't hurt anyone. I'm like, okay. But still, like, this is scary.
Right.
Because knowing me, I would like hurt myself in some way doing something because I don't know anything about outdoorsy guns, like hunting, fishing, like that's all like So it would not be good. I'm more of like a sports girl, but you mentioned too, you liked, you're the beer guy for baseball. We know you like hockey. What are your like favorite sports that you like to watch or maybe participate in?
Yeah. Baseball, hockey are my top two. Baseball is my number one passion for when sports. Like I grew up loving it. I love everything about it because it's so slow, which is agonizing sometimes. Once again, about 3.5 hours is about as quick as I can get on that too. But I just love the game and like the way it's put together, hockey, like you said, but then football is probably my third. But I love to hate the Vikings. I actually do. Like, it's so much fun to watch them just fall apart and destroy themselves. I get more enjoyment out of that than out of a win. It's bad.
What?
But I think what I love about football the most is the tradition that it's the same thing with baseball. I love I feel like I'm weird in that manner. Like, I love the tradition built around stuff. So like baseball itself is a tradition, right? Mm-hmm. Hockey has a tradition in Minnesota, which I'm probably more in love with the tradition of hockey in Minnesota than let's say if I lived anywhere else, I'd probably be like, wow, hockey sucks here.
Yeah.
I love that. And so with football, the tradition is you get together, you watch a game on Sunday, you eat food. And I love that. It's just something to do. It's something you can invite your friends and family over and you can get lost. And for 3 hours while you watch a game, you have no place else to be and nobody's gonna get mad because everybody else is doing the exact same thing. Have you ever ventured out of town and like going to the store during a Vikings game? It's ghost town. It's amazing.
Literally.
And so you never have to feel guilty about, sitting down to veg out for 3 hours because everybody else is.
Seriously, it's so funny because like we're like watching stuff, like it was me, my roommate, and like one other person, and they weren't big into sports, and I was just like, all of a sudden sports came on, and I started like watching, and I was like, what are you doing? Like I was just doing whatever I do with college football, and they're like, that's so funny, and I'm like, what? They're like, you just love football. I was like, yeah. I'm just enamored. Like I love it so much because I just, like you said, it's so traditional, it's so old, like our past and old time, and there's just such a thing about it that makes me like love watching it.
Absolutely. I do love the sport. I just also do not like baseball and hockey. I understand what's going on the entire time. Football, and I understand the majority of football too, but there's times it's like, what's going on? Let's just go. Come on. But like talking about the tradition part of it, I love watching. I like going up to like when MSU had their games, and obviously we didn't do that this year because of COVID. The tailgating has taken off so much
Ugh,
and the camaraderie of that. You walk around, you get food, you talk to somebody else, get a drink, you talk to somebody else. I love that. It's just great.
tailgating is my favorite thing to do when we go to Vikings games. My parents have season tickets, so we always go tailgating. It's probably one of my like I love going to the games, but it's probably one of my favorite things to do for that exact reason. Like I don't think people understand. Like whenever I take people to go tailgating with my family for Vikings games, they're like, "Oh, whatever. What are we gonna do? Just sit around and just chat?" And then they see it all of
Yeah.
it, like
Yeah.
just tailgating. I'm like, yeah, especially when it's nice out. There's grills and bean bags and music and people partying and beans,
Mhm.
hot dog. Like, it's just this whole huge thing, and like people are Bloody Mary bars and all this other things. Like it's crazy. Brock, have you ever been to a tailgating, like a true NFL tailgating or MSU?
Yeah, I've been to many Vikings games. I haven't tailgated there because it's cold. But in freshman year in high school, I went to the Patriots Kansas City Chiefs Monday Night Football game, and that was in September, so it was pretty warm when we got there early. We tailgated. We brought some Hooters wings, really good stuff right there. But I was wearing my Patriots stuff, and actually the Chiefs fans, I thought they were the nicest people. They like offered us to eat some hot dogs, burgers, even though I was wearing another team's jersey. I'm like, this team is awesome. They're really nice. You get into the stadium, the Chiefs start scoring touchdowns, and they have I don't know if you guys know about the Braves in the Florida State, but they play that song.
Yep.
Yep.
And after each touchdown, that's what they do, the chop, and they're going to beat the hell out of you. And I'm the only Patriots fan in the section, and I'm getting so many fingers in my face. And the Patriots lost 43-10 that game, so that can tell you how kind of dreadful that was during the game. So tailgating good at Kansas City Chiefs games, but if you're the other team and you're going in there, you better hope the Chiefs don't score.
Yeah, it's like oh wait, you go, Jeff.
No, go ahead. You keep going.
Well, it's just like so fun to be in that environment and do all those things. But Brock, I have been where you were at. My ex-boyfriend was a huge like Longhorns fan. So then I went with him with a game. My dad bought tickets and we went down to Iowa State. And if you've never been an away team at like you know what I mean, like away team at a place, it is the weirdest feeling. Like I don't even like the Longhorns that much. And I was just like, you want to go? Like you want to, I remember them were just like people were like horns down. I was like, yeah, horns up. Or I was just like shit talking the entire time. And he's like, we're going to get punched. I'm like, I don't know.
Don't bring me to places that you let me talk at.
I can't do this. I can't be yelled at. Like you're the only like Longhorns fan in the entire section. So then when it's a close game like that or anything else, you just like you either a fight or flight person. Like, and I'm a fight person, so it's not good. Like, I don't know.
I can see that in you. Yeah.
The thing I don't understand about is when people tailgate for night games, they're usually there around like noon or 1 o'clock.
The same time, and they're just bombed.
And yeah, they just keep drinking, and you pay $150 ticket or $200 ticket to get there that night. And you have 6 beers. You're not going to remember it the next day. Like I don't understand that. It's like you just wasted all that money.
Oh, dude,
are interesting.
When we go tailgating for like noon games, like we will always sometimes like we'll stay up there like on the next night or we're planning something or we'll just get up really early. So sometimes if we're going leaving Fairmont, we have to leave at like 5 a.m. and then we get to the cities at 7 a.m. and then we start tailgating and it's not even like we want to get up there just to get the experience. Like we want to get up there to get a spot, and like usual regular seasons, like we just want to get up there so we can get a spot at our normal tailgating spot, because usually if you don't, they're like jam-packed busy, and like there's one lot we can't even get into because people get there at like they get there at 5 a.m. Like they don't leave their house, they get there at 5 a.m. versus we get there at 7 a.m. So like if we find a somewhat good spot in our place, like it's nice, and then we can just hang out. But it's crazy how many people like take advantage of it. And like even like Brock, you're like, I don't go tailgating when it's really cold. Like my dad and our family is those crazy mother effers where we're out there and it's like, I don't know, like 2 degrees and we're all like tailgating.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Well, going to what Brock said about going down to Kansas City, compared to the Vikings, the tailgate there in Kansas City, that was awesome. It's like right out front of the stadium, isn't it, Brock?
Yep.
Oh,
Like,
really?
Yeah,
I mean,
the-
I know there's sections at Minnesota that are in front of the stadium too, but it's like one giant parking lot right in front of the stadium.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah. Yeah, because they have one giant parking lot for the Chiefs or for those Arrowwood or whatever it's called,
Arrowhead. Yep.
and then Kauffman Stadium's right next door. And I've been down there for a Kauffman game or for a Royals game, and watched the Twins play down there for that. And so that parking lot is just giant, and so it's like I feel like it gives it a little bit more camaraderie to it, like because it's just you just walk and see all these people compared to where I feel like the Vikings tailgate area is a little bit more disconjointed. It's all like all over the place.
Well,
Yeah, it's so weird. Like the Vikings, when you have to park in the tunnels, right? So when you go to a Royals or Chiefs games like I did, and it's just open area, it is kind of different. I went to Vikings first and then the Chiefs, so I'm like, okay, that's different. And then I went from the Chiefs to Green Bay. I don't know if you've been to Green Bay, but it's just in a neighborhood.
Yeah, I've heard that. It's just in the middle of nowhere, or not nowhere, but just in somebody's neighborhood area.
Well, and it's like the biggest thing. So like before because they did all the construction for like US Bank and everything. So there was this big, huge lot where we like used where it was a little bit closer. And then it was actually like basically used for another parking ramp. So even though like it was already like this and this and this, that big lot was like done. So then we had to find out different places and figure shit out. And it's honestly like it really is that way where it's like, okay, here's one buildings, here's another one building, here's another one. And it's like, it's weird. Like you have your little section where everyone is, but you want to go to the big party one, you're going to have to walk there. And it's like blocks to get to like we always have to walk really far to get to the stadium. We're going to go now because we talked a lot about football or stadiums. We're going to get into a little bit of a fun kind of segment for our last bit. We're gonna do like dating scenes. We're gonna do like
I gotta go. I'm going through a tunnel.
No, it's not even like that. It's like, okay, I'm stunned. I don't know if you've ever been hit on by a girl and you've been like, that was like amazing or that was horrible. But what is the best pickup line you have ever gotten from a girl, if you have gotten one?
Oh man, I don't know if I've ever straight up got a pickup line. I'm sure I have, and I probably just went because it doesn't happen that often. I remember one, and it's probably 14 years ago.
Oh wow.
At least. I met a girl we were at Blue Bricks. Her and her girlfriends were actually friends of mine. And so we're all just talking, and that was it. Like nothing of it. But then the next day I went to work, and she showed up at my job, and she was like a book publisher for one of the book companies here in town. Or like she did something for the book company. And I was a publisher. I was like a editor or whatever. And she brought a book to the radio station, like had it wrapped and left her business card on it. And the book says, "Let's get dinner." That's what the book title was called. And she dropped it off at the radio station for me.
That's smooth.
That was smooth. Yeah. Yep.
That's smooth.
We got dinner, but it didn't go any farther than that. So that's what it was. I know. What a great meet cute, but actually would have worked, right?
Literally, that would have been so cute. Like, oh yeah, how'd you guys meet? Well, she did this really like amazing creative thing.
Right.
Oh man. I think I've gotten so many like bad pickup lines. There's been like, I've been like out and about. Like it was like last year I was at, pre-COVID, was at the bar or whatever. And I have a boyfriend at the time, and I'm sitting there and he's like, hey, I'm like, what's up? He's like, damn, are you going to get arrested tonight? And I was like, what? He's like, because it's just such a crime to be looking that fine. And I was like,
oh my gosh.
And then he bought me a shot, and then I left.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm sorry. Here's a shot. And I was like, thanks. He's like, so nope, bye. I literally was like, like you're gonna actually think to yourself, I'm gonna say this, and this is gonna get all the girls.
I don't get things, honestly. I don't know. My dating life is kind of pathetic. I don't know. It's been there's all kinds of stories I could share with you. But I mean, usually I'm the pursuer 99% of the time, except for the one about from 14 years ago. And then more recently, there was somebody who found me on Facebook after something I did on my Stunt Monkey page. Mm-hmm. They went and added me on my personal page. and we started a conversation, and it just kind of slowly went from there. It was very slow. It wasn't like they made a big move, but it was still something. And that was, how else do you, and it was during COVID time. So, I mean, it was COVID friendly to meet somebody on Facebook, I guess.
Yeah.
But otherwise, usually I feel like I'm the pursuer, and it's whatever. So, and I try to stay away from the cheesy pickup line. That's the other thing. That's probably I don't get. I was going with that. Like, does that work? Because for me, I'm only going to use things that work. Has that ever worked? Using a pickup line like that?
No, honestly, it's never like I've always like it's like on like Tinder or like Hinge. I'm like, oh, that's really funny. But if you would say that to me in person, I would just look at you like, no.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I was like, no. Like Brock, would you think that would work if you said something cheesy to a girl like, yeah, something about buns, your dad's a baker or some bullshit like that?
I don't see it happening unless she's had about 6 of them, but
Exactly, like 6 beers, and she's like,
Maybe.
"You're so funny."
I mean, that's probably. I mean, you just turned into my therapist here. Apparently, it's where I just don't operate that way. I'm not looking for the quick hookup. It's never been me. It never will be me. And so I've stayed off all the dating apps. I don't do it. And people are like, well, what are you gonna do? My number one goal. You want the real, true, classic meet cute is to run into somebody at the grocery store and bump carts or bump hands. So we both reach for the same item on the shelf.
That's so rom-com. Like
I know.
like,
I'm such a
going
loser.
for the pickles, and you're like, oh, you like the buttered ones too. Like
I assumed as both reaching for the same frozen pizza or a big chunk of meat. It's like, oh, do you like meat too? I'm like, yeah, I actually smoke meat all the time. Would you like to come over and? That sounds terrible.
yes, because you have a the last burning thing that I need to know before we end this podcast is, do you still make your
Good.
Chex-
We're off the dating subject. Great.
Yeah,
Okay,
we're off the dating subject. I cut you loose. Are you still making your Chex Mix? Because guys, Stunt makes the best Chex Mix. I've told him that he needs to make it and like produce it and sell it in stores because it's that good.
It's in progress, by the way.
You're just
Yeah.
no way. Actually,
It's my retirement plan. I'm working on it.
guys, I literally missed it so much. Like, that's the only thing I'm like, if hockey doesn't happen, how am I gonna get Stunt's Chex Mix?
We'll meet up sometime next week and I'll get you some Chex Mix. I constantly have a supply on hand, so you're good.
Yes, my day is like made. Brock, you don't know how addictive this stuff is. It's like crack.
yeah, why haven't I had any? I run your bits at hockey. You pull me aside, I run camera for you, and I haven't had any Chex Mix.
Literally
Dang.
horrible.
I'm sorry. You know what? The problem is I bring it to hockey and I give it to her, and it just sits over there with her. I don't.
Yeah, Greg and I, like, Greg will, like, I'll be like holding it and he's like, hey, I'm like, what? And he's like, and then he'll just like take stuff and, and then he'll just, like literally everyone like attacks it, including
I
me.
have 4 smokers now, so I can make quite a bit of it. So I have a problem.
I'm in. Beautiful. Well, Jeff, we're gonna cut you loose. So I think that's the perfect capper for this podcast, talking about Chex Mix and the amazingness. If you see Stunt Monkey's Chex Mix or something along the lines of that, it might be in stores soon. I don't know, or I might eat it all. Probably. I love it so much. But thank you so much for joining us. And honestly, I had a blast. I know I talked a lot. Brock, sorry if you were the odd man out, but
No, it's good. It's good.
Stunt and I get along too well. It's just
We do. I'll come back anytime you need.
I'll hold you to it.
It's good therapy.
It's
So
beautiful.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Bye, Stunt.
See ya.
Thanks, Don.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, now after a nice chat with Stunt Monkey, let's get into the games real quick from last week. Just highlighting a couple of them. A big time upset, Marissa, by your Minnesota Vikings. Quickly, what went through your head watching them defeat Rodgers at Lambeau?
Let's go. Woo! Oh God, blood through my veins, ready to run through a brick wall. It was honestly super amazing to see them, but it was hard being a Vikings fan because you didn't know what the outcome was going to go, especially going to Lambeau. That was really hard on me. But Dalvin Cook, absolutely monster game, proved that he is who he is, and he is doing great. 4 touchdowns. I don't know the stats, but I know 4 touchdowns. He even got some receiving yards in there. He had an amazing game, and if we didn't have him, we wouldn't have won. I'm 100% confident that if he didn't have the game that he had, I'm not sure we would have won that game. Obviously, you know, the Packers. So I have Packer friends, and I was like, "Oh, Skull, let's go." They're like, "Yeah, I would win too against a riddled Packers team. Like we have so many injuries and blah blah blah." I'm like, "Yeah, I get that. I honestly do, but at the same time, it's like
The Vikings had more injuries than the Packers, so I
it's
don't
exactly what
understand
I
that,
thought.
but-
That's exactly what I'm saying. I'm like, our defense is not that great, and you're here like being like we have so many injuries. Like you were like 5-1 at the time, and we were 1-5.
Yeah,
Like,
you're 1-5 now, 2-5.
Yeah, 2-5. You're like you were supposed to win that game and you didn't. So it was a big, big win for me. But again, if we didn't have Dalvin doing what he did, because Kirk didn't do much. He didn't do that much. You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah,
like
the Packers really, their only good win this year has been at the Saints. Otherwise, they've had a very easy schedule, and
Yep.
I don't think anyone's sold. It's going to be interesting that we're filming this Thursday night. The kickoff's about to kick off, surprisingly, between the Packers and Niners, even with all the COVID.
yeah.
Niners lost like 8 starters on offense, and they're without obviously Solomon Thomas, Nick Bosa, and Richard Sherman on defense. But we'll see if the Packers, who usually get gashed by the Niners, if they can finally beat them because of all the injuries or not. Let's go to a couple other upsets. How about Joe Burrow? All of his starting offensive linemen from week 1 did not play. Joe Mixon did not play, yet the Bengals upset the Titans to get another win, Joe Burrow's second win, and all of a sudden they're 2-5-1.
No, and it was, you know, I didn't catch much of the game just because I was working and I was doing all that, but it's an impressive win. It is a good win, and I think it's one where Joe was like, I know my team, I know how good I am. It's what I've been saying all the time. I don't have my full faith in the Titans. If Derrick Henry doesn't have a good game, who are they going for? If Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry don't have a good game, what is their main thing, you know? And it showed with Joe. That game was I'm shocked. I'm shocked because it's the Bengals, but at the same time, I've been saying the Titans aren't that great and are overhyped for a while. What were your things were going through while you saw the score of that game?
I was very surprised that Joe Burrow, I knew he had a good matchup for fantasy purposes, but without all the offensive line, I didn't think he was going to do that good. But that guy stands tall in the pocket and strong, hitting him. If you watch that Thursday night game against the Browns or even the Eagles, the guy just gets murdered, but he gets up every time and you wouldn't even know it. I think he's going to be a star. Back in November on my Twitter page, I said that Joe Burrow versus Patrick Mahomes are going to be dueling out for the next decade. Right now, that seems like it could possibly happen here after if the Bengals can get some offensive linemen in free agency or maybe in the draft. It'll be fun to see against the best pass rushing defense, the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's who the Bengals will get following their week 9 bye. So look for that in 2 weeks. But let's go to week 9 now. There's 3 really, really good games that we're going to highlight here. First one, the struggling 5-2 Baltimore Ravens, kind of like the Packers. They're 5-2, but they haven't really played anyone either. They lost their game to the Chiefs, and they lost to the Steelers last week. They go against the Indianapolis Colts, who are 5-2, coming up strong after their loss to Cleveland, where people thought maybe Phillip Rivers was a joke, but he's bounced back with 3 touchdowns in each of the last 2 games. Who do you got winning that game, Marissa? What are you watching for?
You know, that game is the same kind of thing as the Baltimore Ravens as I think of the Tennessee Titans and the Green Bay Packers. You know, they haven't done much in my eyes. They're not like a Steelers. They're not even like a Cardinal team. You know, they're not like a Seahawk team for me or the Chiefs. They're there, and I don't think they should have a 5-2 record. But I think that this is actually going to be a closer game than a lot of people think. I don't think that Lamar and all of his, you know, kind of weapons can blow out the Colts because the Colts are there and they have a good team, and I just don't see this being a huge blowout. But we also didn't say that. We said that about the Vikings and Packers, and look where we're at now. But I don't know. I don't see this. I see this being a close game. I don't honestly. It's the tale of 5-2 teams, And if you give me one person and one team, I'm going to probably go with the Colts in this one.
Yeah, I have this coming up in my locking episode, so I won't say it quite yet. But yeah, it's going to be a great game. Number 1 rushing team, the Baltimore Ravens, going against the number 1 rush defense, Indianapolis Colts. 2 great defenses. I expect that to be a low-scoring game. The other big game at the 12 o'clock hour, 6-1 Seahawks at the Buffalo Bills, which are 6-2. Russell Wilson, again, is going to have to lead his troops here, scoring many points. You would assume that you'd need to score a lot going against Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. Who do you got in that one real quickly, Marissa?
Well, this is hard. We've talked about it time and time again. And with the Seahawks defense is the only thing that makes them crumble. They're a very, very good team. Arguably one of the best with the offensive, and DK Metcalf is absolutely doing it. He's a tank of a fucking man. I wouldn't want to be a corner guarding him at any time in my career. But at the same time, you got to look at their defense, and especially against the number 6 offense right now. I mean, this is hard. You have a 31st in this, with the Seahawks are 31st defense, and then you have the Bills who are 6th offense. And even though like the Seahawks are great, they're only ranked 10th in the offense as well. So you got to look at these components, but it's looking, if you look at them statistically speaking, the Bills could win this one, and they've got the speed, and especially with the Seahawks losing that heartbreaker with Arizona, it's going to be close. I'm going to think I'm going to edge it towards the Bills just because I don't have a lot of faith in the defense right now for the Seahawks. But I know Russ is so good, so it's so hard for me to choose the Bills because I know Russell Wilson is so good, but their just defense sucks.
Yeah, I also picked this game in my locking upset, so I'll just move on from that and get to it here at the end. Okay, I'm going to actually throw one game in here for the 3 o'clock hour. The Steelers and Cowboys are the game of the week at 3:25. I think that's absolute garbage. The game I'm looking at 3:25 is the Dolphins at Cardinals. 4-3 Dolphins coming off a big win against the Rams, going against the 5-2 Cardinals, coming off their bye after the impressive win in overtime against the Seahawks. Tua, he didn't have to do much. He is the 2nd worst passer according to Pro Football Focus in Week 8, going against the Cardinals team that picked off Russell Wilson, 3 times 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
I have the Cardinals defense in fantasy. I picked them up just because I think they might be able to turn off over Tua. What are you looking for from Tua this week after maybe not the start you wanted to see last week, Marissa?
Yeah, this is really hard because we were all looking towards Tua, and we were all looking for him to do great things because obviously they had so much faith in him, and yet he kind of fell short. But this is going to be a tough game because Kyler Murray is absolutely electric. They've got the 8th ranked offense right now in the league, and if you look at the Dolphins, they're the 30th ranked offense. So that's, if you even toss that up, that's not going to be much for me. I think it might be a closer game than people think because their defense for the Dolphins is pretty good. But I think Tua needs to really step up his game, show that he needs that starting position, and that's why he got it over Fitzpatrick, because it didn't show to me much what he did and why he got that starting position. It's kind of still looking in my mind like, why? I wonder. So he has to step up big here if he's going to want to keep that position and be a front runner for this team. I'm going to go with the Cardinals just because they did beat the Seahawks. That's still a big win. And they picked off Russ 3 times, which is an amazing, amazing feat that you can do, because let Russ cook. Like, that man is almost always perfect as he's shown. So I think I'm going to go Cardinals in this bad boy.
I'm going to go Cardinals too. I think it is going to be really close. Last year, the Cardinals went into their bye week looking pretty good, kind of like they did this year so far. But the following week, they played the Rams, and they got absolutely beaten down. So usually teams are good after the bye. Under Cliff Kingsbury last year, they didn't. So I expect it to maybe be closer, like you said, than most people think. I think it's actually going to maybe be I want to say low-scoring game, but I'm against Kyler Murray and all my fantasy leagues, so I might have a little bias there. So I'm going to say it's going to be a high-scoring game. Now, hopefully, so I'm wrong and I win in fantasy. But yeah, I got the Cardinals too. Going to the game of the year, although it's going to be tough to surpass the Cardinals-Seahawks game 2 weeks ago, but the Drew Brees and New Orleans Saints, they're expecting to get Michael Thomas back, going against the Buccaneers, who are expected to get Antonio Brown activated. Oh my goodness, the 2 quarterbacks that lead the league in history with touchdown passes, all the weapons they have around them. It's pretty crazy. The number one running back in the league right now, Alvin Kamara, Mike Thomas, who's the best receiver last year, Brees has around, and then, of course, Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, Rob Gronkowski. It's just awesome that not only are we seeing Hall of Fame players, but they have so great skill sets. I think how many over under, Marissa, 1.5 punts total that on Sunday night.
I don't know. That's hard for me. Like, that's a hard one to pick. I gotta go. I think I'm gonna go over on that one.
Yeah.
I
just don't. I think over is it's the easiest to stay over, obviously, because I don't know if there's been many games where there's only been one punt or less, but my goodness,
Yeah.
I know the Buccaneers are the number one defense in the NFL.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Drew Brees and Sean Payton carve up the best defenses in the NFL. Last year, they had a statistic where they're like 8-0 after week 8 when they play a team that's the number one defense. And last year, they played the Niners in week 10, I think, which they will next week too. And they dropped 40 points against them. They won like 41-34. I expect that to be very similar. I think the Saints might win this game with Michael Thomas back. I think I'm going to take the Saints to upset them. Well, who do you got in the game?
I think the Saints, I honestly, the only reason why I would say the Saints, you guys know I like them, but the only reason why I would say the Saints to edge out the Bucs in this one is because the Bucs almost lost to the Giants. And honestly, that's a big red flag to me because the Giants aren't that great this year. And that shouldn't happen really. So for me, and especially having Michael Thomas back and having basically those three, I see that as like the Bermuda Triangle kind of a thing. I see that being a really, really thorn in the Bucs side and Tom Brady's side. So I think I'm gonna go with the Saints as well in this one, just because a win is a win, but it's against the Giants. Like, that's one of the worst teams, top 5, one of the worst teams in the league right now. And you're almost going to lose to them, especially with having Gronk and having Antoine Winfield and all of these different components.
Yeah, definitely. We'll go. I'll give you a sleeper of each position real quick here before we get to the locks and upset. Quarterback, if you need a quarterback, look for your waiver wire. Derek Carr going against the Chargers. You've seen Tom Brady scored 5 touchdowns against them last week. Drew Lock scored 3 touchdowns. I think Derek Carr has a good chance of getting multiple touchdowns against the LA Chargers. Wide receiver Cole Beasley, if he's available, pick him up. The Seahawks give up the most fantasy points to slot receivers, so Cole Beasley can maybe win your league this week. Yeah, that's how good I think he could possibly be. And then running backs, if Jordan Howard's out there, he's going to get the goal line carries now with Myles Gaskin. So you like that upside when you know you're going to get a guy that gets goal line carries. I don't expect the ceiling as high as Beasley in that regard, but Jordan Howard should be picked up and maybe played with so many bench guys on the bye and COVID hit as well. COVID, like you said, Marissa, here, COVID is coming back strong, and I hope these games get to be played, but it's something to keep active. Obviously, check your updates because fantasy, really, you saw that with just one person on each of the Niners and Packers getting positive. People with close contacts are out now, like Jamal Williams, Deebo Samuel, and Brandon Ayuk. They didn't test positive, but someone else tested positive on their team, and since they're close contacts, they're out. So everyone, this is the season that you need to check your fantasy team almost every other day for sure, and especially Sunday mornings.
Absolutely. And the thing is, the 49ers, the Packers are still playing, even though they're riddled with COVID right now. It's something to look out for. I mean, even I had an inactive player, and Brock's like, you can't do that. That, hurts the team, that hurts the credibility. And it's true, though. You can't do those things. So you have to be really watching. And I get it if you get busy, but you're still in the league with a bunch of guys, and, everyone cares about it a lot. So watch those and be out for it. And this is more me talking to myself, being like, listen, you little shit. Update your fantasy. That's like more me than anything.
Yeah, don't update your fantasy this week, Marissa, because you're playing me. I'm expecting to win.
Shut up. Now I need to update my fantasy as soon as I get off this. I'll be like, listen, literally now I have to get like the best team. How am I?
Yeah, tweet at us. Who do you got winning? Team Marissa or Team Brock? Let's see who the fans got.
All I cared about is that I beat Houston.
Yeah, Marissa upset at Houston last week, so
He
that'll
was
be a fun
undefeated, guys, and I was like 500. And Brock's like, you got to do it. I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know. This isn't going to look good. And all of a sudden he's like, you won. I was like, what? I'm like,
Anything can happen in fantasy.
It was like miracle. It was just like miracle on ice where you didn't think anything could happen. And I was over here like, I just won. I beat.
Also, what was amazing last week, Marissa, we both were 2-0 in our picks. We both picked the upsets, right? I had the Broncos. They were down 17 in the second half, but came back and upset the Chargers. And then you had the Dolphins upsetting the Rams. Are we going to be going 2-0 again? Who's your lock and upset this week?
Okay, obviously you have to understand that my lock is the Minnesota Vikings. They are riding that big high after beating the Packers and their freaking Lambeau, and they're going, I think, are they hosting the Lions?
They're hosting the Lions, and Stafford's status is up in the air too. They might not have matched.
So Stafford's status, this is all looking towards getting the Minnesota Vikings, and even another like waiver wire pickup, Justin Jefferson. I think he's going to go off. So with Adam Thielen and obviously Dalvin Cook, but I think they're all going to have really good games being in their own place. So that is my lock, and my upset is Jags are back. Jags are back. Jaguars are back. Jaguars are back.
You're on the Jake Luton's train.
I'm literally on. I hadn't. Gardner Minshew let me down, but I'm
now
back.
He's out,
I'm
so you're trying their new quarterback.
Baby. I'm back on the train, baby. I'm going. I'm riding the mustache. Let's go. No,
well, Gardner's not playing.
No.
Yeah, they're starting.
I'm still going with the Jags. I don't give.
That might work out for you, actually, because
honestly, Gardner's been like very much but also you have James Robinson, who is so amazing and such a good running back that I just would put my money on him. It's kind of like a young Dalvin Cook. Like I have so much. But I'm still going with it, and especially against the Texans, who are the Texans, who kind of look like garbage fire right now.
You have them in fantasy against me, so you probably put them in your lineup against me, which is a smart thing to do. I hope it doesn't work out for you though. This week, after a weekend of a lot of upsets, I'm going to throw out 2 upsets this week, and it was on the 2 games we talked about. The Ravens are favored by 2 points. Give me the Indianapolis Colts to stop them. I talked about they're the best run defense in the NFL, going against the number 1 rush defense. I think they match up well. I think Phillip Rivers gets paid $25 million a year. He's going to make that contract this week, and the Colts get their first really big win. Other upset I think the Saints are upset, but the one I'm more confident in is the Buffalo Bills. I really do like the Bills upsetting the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks have to go across the whole country, right? Going into Buffalo at noon kickoff. Josh Allen, I think, a throw back after not scoring a touchdown against the Jets, only 1 touchdown against the Patriots. Fantasy owners should not trade him away or bench him this week. He's going to go off. It's going to be a shootout again, but I got the Buffalo Bills winning. Any last thoughts for you, Marissa?
I just realized we have the same lock and upset if I didn't choose mine lock and upset. Like I literally said I said Colts and the Bills. We were on the same page from the get-go. So if you get it right and I get it wrong, I'm gonna be really upset because I basically.
That's not good. Every time we agree on something, the other team wins. So
I know. It's literally every time we're like the same. It's like no. But all I gotta say is please listen to the portion of for Stunt. I know not a lot of you guys know him, but he's such a good, funny guy. And honestly, if you're in the Mankato area, you know exactly who Stunt Monkey is. And if you don't, please listen to Hot 96.7. It's kind of a Mankato thing, but you can find them in the iHeartRadio app. Look him up. He is the guy who has his own bobblehead. Like, don't you wish you had your own bobblehead? That'd be so cool. I feel like I'd post that and be like, it's little Marissa. But please listen to this podcast. Tell your family, tell your friends, and please interact with us. Say like, hey, we want more clips. Hey, we want this or that. Let us know and we'll do it for you guys. But anything else?
Yeah, that's Marissa Voss. I'm Brock Aker. Thank you for listening to another episode of Around the Gridiron.